Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's well. We'll just give it a minute or two to let stragglers join us. We're 5 past now. Shall we kick off? Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We have a short but packed Copilot show for you. My name's Aaron, and I'm one of the directors at IT Knox, and I'm an AI enthusiast. And organizations engage me to help identify how they can put Copilot to work for their people, teams, and really organization-wide. Today, you'll hear from me, the CEO of IT Knox, Adnan Khan, and Aidan Clifford, who's the Microsoft lead at Pax8, to demystify and help you make sense of Copilot and hopefully create some thought on some possibilities for your business. And may I ask the audience to type in the chat one question or concern that you might have had coming into this webinar about AI or Copilot specifically, and we'll aim to cover those off in the Q&A at the end. So we would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we meet today, and I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. With that, by the end of the half hour, it's our intention that you'll walk away with a greater understanding of really what is Copilot and how it's different than bots or other agents, M365 apps which have Copilot embedded. Then Aidan will show you it in action with a Copilot demo. Adnan will talk about some options to extend Copilot beyond M365. We'll have a little discussion around security, privacy, and governance before heading to the Q&A. Now let's cover the basics really quickly. And Adnan, I'll hand over to you to talk about what is Copilot? What are we talking about here?
Thanks, Aaron. Sure. Yeah. So let's start basic. What is Copilot? Very simply, Microsoft 365 Copilot is like a super smart assistant built into apps like Word, Excel, and Teams. It's actually UI for AI. It helps you get things done faster by suggesting ideas, making sense of data, drafting content, and handling tasks that usually take time. So basically, it's there to make your work life a lot easier and save you from the heavy lifting and save a lot of your efforts and time. So Copilot is built right into Microsoft's ecosystem. It works seamlessly with apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. Think of a Copilot as your personal AI-powered productivity booster. It's like having a super smart colleague who is always ready to lend a hand. So whether you are a small business or an enterprise, Copilot can provide valuable insights and suggestions. The best part, it's constantly learning and improving thanks to its foundation in advanced language models. Yeah, so that is just a brief, and I think let me go to the other part where we will actually see how Copilot is different than any other chatbots. You know, we have been using bots on websites, and there's always a question from clients that what actually the difference between those bots and Copilot. So Copilot, rule-based bots, first of all, are designed based on if and else rules and are very specific and basic in a way that they can only answer questions which have been programmed at design time. On the other hand, AI-based Copilot, are capable of doing natural language processing and based on machine learning, but they are trained on specific data sets and still have limitations. So on next slide, about the Copilot. Copilot stands out from traditional rule-based and basic AI bots because it's powered by deep learning, large language models, and neural networks. So Copilot uses advanced neural networks and LLMs, large language models, to process language and context in a way that it's highly adaptive. This enables to provide dynamic context-aware support, generating creative ideas, insights, and solutions as if you are collaborating with a real person. So making it much more flexible and intuitive than any traditional bots. And then I think let's look at Microsoft's contribution to Copilot and their ecosystem. So Microsoft has seamlessly integrated Copilot across its ecosystem, enhancing productivity in various domains, such as in browsers. In Microsoft Edge, it providing AI-powered assistance for web browsing tasks. In developer tools such as Visual Studio, GitHub, Copilot aids developers to boost coding efficiency. And data and AI, with Azure Data Studio and related AI services, Copilot supports tasks such as data analysis, creating predictive models, and automating workflows. In business applications like Dynamics 365 applications, Copilot empowers CRM and ERP users by streamlining processes such as customer insights, automating tasks, and improving decision making. And in modern work, which is Microsoft 365 apps, which is actually our today's topic. And on slide, specifically, I will show you that Microsoft 365 apps. And then if you move to next slide, then we can just look at, specifically, I've just, extracted out and just wanted to show you guys that these Microsoft, Copilot is deeply integrated with Microsoft ecosystem. So this means it can seamlessly work with popular tools, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, OneNote, and many other apps you can see on the screen. So Copilot helps automate repetitive tasks, provide insights and suggestions, streamline teamwork with features like real-time summaries, meeting notes, intelligent suggestions for content creation, design ideas, and storytelling enhancements. So I think enough talking. Let's dive into the exciting part. Aiden, over to you to show the magic in action and walk us through some fantastic use cases.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Adnan. I might start sharing my screen. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Aidan Clifford. I'm the Microsoft Business Manager over at Pax8, so a strategic partner of IT Knox. But what I want to do is go through a couple of scenarios utilizing Copilot live today. So Aaron, if I could just get a quick thumbs up, you can see my screen. Hopefully you can start to see my my M365 environment working through the browser edition. But what we want to show is there is such a huge opportunity with Copilot. But most of the success we see with customers day to day is the hands-on learning, how they can start utilizing the tool in their day to day. So the scenario I really want to work through over the next sort of 10, 15 minutes is I'm going to pretend to be an HR manager of a new company I just created called Aidan's Copilot Company. Very imaginative of me. But what I need to do is start from scratch and start creating some policies as the HR manager of this company. So I don't actually have an annual leave policy already. So what I want to do is use the power of Copilot based on the grounded on the internet and then within the Microsoft 365 apps to really augment my my productivity and really get me started. So if you can see on my screen, I've just got my Microsoft 365 browser edition here. I'm working in the browser. It tends to be the most updated version of Copilot if you are testing out how it works. But what I need to do is start off with Copilot for the web itself. The way that I usually access this, and you can access it probably about 5 or 6 different ways through apps or in different experiences, but I just use Edge. I go to the top right-hand corner, I click on the Copilot icon, and then it brings up the Copilot experience. One thing that has changed this morning, which I needed to adapt to, is it used to have an option to say web or work. So you could choose whether it's utilizing the web for the information or utilizing your workplace information as the grounding for these prompts. But now it's actually blended it together. So let's start with my first prompt of what I want to do today. What I want to do is prompting is a bit of an art and a science at the same time. So I'll just guide you through what I've put in and going to get started. So I'm an HR manager based in Victoria, Australia, where I'm based. Please use the internet to find a government document template for me to build an employee leave policy. So really quickly to break it down, because getting some really meaningful elements into your prompts really helps get the right output for you. So I've identified the identity I want to be. I'm an HR manager. A geographical importance being Victoria, Australia, as legislation can change on this topic. I want it to use the internet as the grounding for this prompt, and I want to use an official body for the information I want back, so a government template. But most importantly, help me build an employee leave policy. Let's click generate on that, and hopefully we get a response back from Copilot pretty quickly. Awesome. So we started to get a bit of an insight on where Copilot thinks we should get started. We've got an HR policies procedures manual template from Business Victoria, which sounds pretty good. We've also got some templates from the Fair Work Ombudsman. So some pretty promising ways to get started. I'm probably going to start with Business Victoria to get started and just see what this one's about. Where we get these citations, it takes us through to the website that we're able to do here. We can review that it's Business Victoria, so a safe URL to travel to. And also takes us straight to the website and straight to a template that I'm able to download here. I'll quickly open this up in Word just to give you a bit of an insight into what we're working with, but I will focus on what Copilot's able to do here. Closing this down, we can see it's a pretty big template, a lot of manual steps to get started before we even get to the meat of what I'm looking for today, which is how can I actually get the guidance on creating an annual leave policy. We'll do a quick eyeball of this one, but we can start to see what we do, our clients, our mission statements, all this other great stuff. But then we get down to payroll, hours of work, and actual leave policy, like 20 days leave policy, sick leave policy, all the other things that we want to utilize. I won't bore you with the details because there's 67 pages of this, and this is a great opportunity to see how Copilot can help us. So I've saved this to my OneDrive in the background, and then I can get started and go across to Microsoft Word. So just going through here on the Create tab, clicking on Word, I'll open this one up and we can get started with our next prompt and next Copilot experience. So if you do have a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, you'll notice the UI changes quite a lot. So this is a new view that was introduced a few weeks ago, just making it a little bit easier to get started in the different most popular ways to use Copilot. But I'm going to use my own prompt today. What I'll do is I'll just paste the prompt that I've pre-baked into the chatbot box here. So once again, I'm an experienced HR manager at Aiden's Copilot company. Using this file as a reference, can you please write an employee leave policy? So the most important part isn't in the prompt so far, and it's where I've left this / reference file just to make me remember I need to insert the document we want to ground that prompt in. If I delete that and simply put a /, it'll give me a whole bunch of information pre-baked of documents that it will suggest me to utilize. What I've got is I've pre-done this one as calling it Demo 1, HR Policies and Procedures Manual Template, but this is the same 67-page template that we were utilizing earlier. I'll put this one in, and then you can see now this Word document that we downloaded from the government website is now the grounding that Copilot will use to build from here. Let's get started. Let's click Generate on this one, and let's see how Copilot scours through that massive document with the guidance that we've given to hopefully give me a pretty good start on the draft of the annual leave policy I want to use. Cool. So if we start to just do some reviewing, it's a pretty nice clean outlay from the start. So pretty clean template we can use. If we're doing another version, we can also reference in-company templates that we've previously used for other documents as guidance to build out the format of this one, but I'm just building this one from scratch. It's referencing Aiden's Copilot company. It started to build out the general leave guidance from here, but as you can see, it's extracted the things that were really crucial for this. What's the minimum annual leave policy that we've done in accordance with government legislation, minimum sick leave policy, carers leave policy. So we've actually taken that 67-page document and whittled it down to a 3-page first draft. I can either keep this from here. If I don't like the output at all, I can regenerate it from scratch, or I can start to make some changes from here. So start to put in prompts like make it more formal, make it more casual if that's our branding that we want to do, or if it's a bit too short, please say, make this a 10-page policy just to kind of get extra detail out of that large document that we have. So hopefully that's a pretty good way that you can get started getting from a less standing start through to about an 80% draft pretty quickly. But one of the other options that I wanted to show you today is we want to introduce these policies into Aiden's Copilot company, but then what we want to do is present it back to our employees as well. We want to show what we've developed internally, show the rights that they've got as part of an employee of the company. And what we need for there is probably a PowerPoint presentation. So I'll save this document in the background. I'll go back to my Microsoft 365 experience. I'll click on PowerPoint. One of the really exciting things about Copilot is we're able to utilize it to build branded and template-based presentations from scratch. If we were doing it from this blank presentation, it would just create a Copilot output with just white background with black text on top. A little bit boring for my liking. So what I'm going to do is go to create a new presentation, but I'm going to browse the templates that Microsoft 365 has available for us as well. Once I just give it a moment to sign in, which is good from our compliance policies that it has to sign in, just make sure I am who I am. But then we can have a look at Microsoft 365 presentation formats that we have. We can utilize company templates, so we can customize this so it looks a lot more like, say, for Pax8 or IT Knox branding from the first instance. But today I'll just use one of the Microsoft 365 templates. I like the look of this sort of geometrical black one. It's pretty cool. I'll go in here and I'll click Create. From here, we're able to then create a presentation from a file, but utilizing this as the base for that presentation as well. So I really just use Copilot to help guide me through there. So I can start to either create a presentation from scratch if it's about a new topic, or from a file if I want to use an existing grounded file to build that from. So as you can see, we've got create a presentation from. I just really need to put in a /. I'll type in the precursor to the file that I'm looking for. Wait for it to find it. Looking for a person. We want it to look for a file. I saved this one as the previous file we were working on earlier called the demo 1 HR output. So this is that summary that we were working from. I'll tag that in here, and I'll also ask, please insert images where appropriate. Just to kind of give it some simple guidance, but make sure that we do hopefully have a nice looking template once we get started. Most important prompt as part of this is Copilot will ask you, are you happy to override some of these slides as part of this, which is a good sense check. I'll say yes, please. So it just means it'll use this base that we're working from to start inserting the summary that Word utilized earlier. As I did use a slightly different demo output when I was creating these files earlier, you can see it's a little bit longer than the one that we just used. So you can start to see some of the subheadings it's extracting from that Word document. But as you can see, they're all very related to that the government template I was working from, all of the really key areas that you'd want to present back to the business if you're updating people on their annual leave rights, all of the benefits that they can get as part of they're working at the Aiden's Copilot company, which is getting better and better by the moment. We'll just give it a few moments. It starts to look things over. It starts inserting speaker notes where relevant as well. So it does refer back to the guidance that you give it, just to try and create the most comprehensive first draft for you once we go. And there we have it. Let's have a look at what our draft starts to look like. So cool, a pretty clean cover page, a pretty logical title, but it's also left a space here where we can start inserting images from stock imagery as well. So if you aren't familiar with these features within PowerPoint, Copilot does give you the opportunity to start augmenting that really quickly. As we're talking about employees today, I'll just put in a keyword employee. Here's some happy employees. We can insert that really quickly. When that goes in, all of a sudden our slide looks pretty good. And then if we go down our agendas, pretty clean, looking pretty in line with what we want to do. And then the slides are a pretty good sort of guidance of how we want to speak to our employees using all of the critical subheadings about the leave policy we've created. There's a few other options as far as design. I won't go too deep into it, but you can actually utilize Microsoft Designer up in the top right-hand corner. If you don't like the look of the layout and you want to utilize Copilot for that guidance and just changing up that look and feel, if there is a little bit of a different way you want that to be positioned, the whole experience does work together with a lot of these features that were hidden in the back end before Copilot kind of brings them to the forefront for us. What I want to do from here, and I'll probably just go through a process of saying, if we think about logically, we've created our annual leave policy, we've created our presentation, we probably want to get some feedback directly from the employees rather than just leaving it there. So what I want to do is actually go to a Microsoft form and see if we can create a feedback form to insert into our presentation as well. If you haven't used Microsoft Forms before, it is a pretty powerful tool, which is able to get some pretty good insights from quite a simple format. If you are using SurveyMonkey or a similar third-party tool, it's a very easy way to initially save money on your Microsoft licensing and then bring that in and use Copilot to make it even bigger and better. What I want to do is I want to let Copilot do the work. I'm not particularly good at creating feedback surveys myself, so we can put into Copilot, it pops up automatically, create an employee leave policy for the HR department to assess employees' job satisfaction and find areas for improvement. Let's just click generate here and see what Copilot's able to do. Thinking I'm a pretty straight down the line guy. My questions are going to be boring. They're going to be all the same and awesome. Copilot has taken my instructions and it's given me quite a few different ways to ask questions to get feedback from our employees. How satisfied are you on a scale of 1 to 5 using stars? A pretty rich sort of scale of how satisfied you are across different parts of the business, across most of the areas that I'd probably take 10 to 15 minutes to think of to ask in this form as well. And then a few short answers of what you'd like to see, what are areas for improvement, and would you recommend this workplace? So again, we can regenerate if we don't like this one. We can give some more details if we want Copilot to redraft it for us, but then we can just keep that, go up to here. All of a sudden it's ready to go. We can change the style if we want to. We can insert our own branding, or we can just literally go click responses, look at the QR code, copy and paste that or download it and pop that into our presentation and away we go. So we're able to do those ones. Aaron, I might get a sense check from you. I can do one more if we've got time up our sleeve. How are we going for on the clock?
Certainly, yeah, we'd love to see some more. Those are powerful examples, Aidan. So if you have one or two up your sleeve, yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. So the last one that I was going to do is, so say, for example, just to kind of close the loop on this policy or in this demo, is we've created our draft Word document. We've created our presentation. We've got a feedback form to get direct feedback from the employees. So let's go into Excel, which is sometimes the weakest part of this cycle. I know definitely I'm no wizard within Excel, and let's have a look at some of the data and how we can start working from it. I've created a dummy spreadsheet here for us, but kind of aligning to the survey that we've created, a little bit more simplified than the survey we asked for. But basically, I want to show that we have full name of employees, got satisfaction levels from the last evaluation, current evaluation, salary bands, and departments. So a pretty standard sort of data set you'd expect to see as an HR manager. One thing that always takes up a disproportionate amount of my time is if I need to upload a spreadsheet into a CRM system or similar, and I've got full names in one column and I need it to be first name and last name to adhere to the fields I need to upload to. If I was being honest with myself, I probably have done this manually more times than I'm willing to admit because I couldn't find the right finance person to show me what the formula was. So let's see if Copilot can help us that. And if I was going through this line of about 100 different employees, it'd probably take me about an hour to do it manually, and I just pretend I did it, so I did it automatically. But if I could use Copilot, we've got this in a table. I can just literally ask it to please split full name into first name and last name. A pretty simple formula. If you have used Excel with Copilot about 6 to 12 months ago, you may have had a different result. There's been so many improvements over the past few months in Excel. It really suggests jumping in and giving it a good try, because even for basic users like myself, it has come a long way in how it does empower us to get more out of the app. So one of the things I really do like this, so it has performed how I was hoping it to. It's first of all, it's read what I've wanted it to do. It's given us a pretty good example of how I think the output should look, but then it's telling me the formulas that it's using in order to get the output that it's predicting. So I can either learn how these formulas work, I can do it myself manually next time if I want to, or I can just clarify that it's close to what I would like it to do. So we've got a first name, we've got a last name output, but then it gives me this preview, which is probably the most important part. It shows me that it's split these names into first name and last name, and then most importantly, an ability to just paste that directly into my spreadsheet as well. So all of a sudden, this job that might have taken me an hour or so, if I wasn't able to get someone to help me with Excel, I can do that in about 2 minutes, get it uploaded to my CRM system, and now my afternoon can be spent doing something else. I don't need to do that right now though. So what I might do is delete this one. I think about the last thing that I want to do as part of this exercise is I want to take the feedback that we've received. I want to get some visualizations on this, get some more understanding of the data we've created, and feed that back to my management team to see what changes we need to make. So let's just let Copilot do the work and just say, show data insights. By giving Copilot some bandwidth in these app experiences, it not only just helps you do what you're doing faster, but it lets the technology lean in and just try to make some insights about what we do, or about what we're able to achieve with the data that we have. So cool. Copilot from here has looked at the satisfaction level within the data set. It's aligned it to the different departments in the organization. We've got a preview, but let's have a bit of a deeper look. Let's add this to a new sheet. And awesome, we've got a pivot table to work from to see what the satisfaction looks like. We've got a visual representation of that in a bar chart. And me and the executive team at Aidan's Copilot company probably have some hard work to do because the management team's having a great time. But in accounting, product management, and support, arguably the most important departments at the company, they're not very satisfied with how things are going. So based on the feedback circle loop that we've created, we can see there's more work to do, and Copilot's helped me do that in about a 15, 20-minute period. So getting from zero all the way to a full circle of understanding of the department and how it works in no time at all. So hopefully you've got some answers there, some good insights. But yeah, that's I might pass it back to you, Aaron, and stop sharing my screen unless there's any questions.
Thanks, Aidan. Yeah, there's some really powerful examples there, just even basic but powerful examples. There's a myriad of ways that you can implement and use Copilot. This is just to get you started in terms of thinking about how it might be applicable to you or how you might think about using Copilot. In terms of extending beyond M365, Adnan, what options might people or organizations have?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Really amazing features. And there's a lot of possibilities with these out-of-box functionalities. And I wish we had more time to cover that. But even as a developer, on top of it, if you want to extend Microsoft 365 Copilot with additional knowledge and skills, you can build agents, and you can also do that with Microsoft 365 Copilot. So why you want to extend Microsoft 365 Copilot? Suppose you have external data that you want to make available to Copilot. You have existing APIs that could be used for read and write access to real-time data. You want to use other LLMs and your own orchestration. So this diagram shows a very high level and very simple way how you can extend Copilot. So from left to right, these are 3 pillars. First, connectors. which you can use to bring or ingest data using different applications or graph connectors. Then the plugins, which actually we can also say they are actions. So these plugins add skills by calling REST APIs, using actions in Copilot Studio, Power Platform connectors to connect with other data sources in real time. And the agents, as you can see at the bottom, agents can be developed using both types of tools, low code and no code. Low code and no code is Copilot Studio, and custom code using Visual Studio Code to write any repetitive and reusable components you want to use, across your organizations again and again at different places. So you can also code it. So on next slide. Yeah, this is, another perspective to like the extensibility is that, that we have been using GPT, LLM as knowledge and Chat GPT as a skills. But on top of it, Microsoft 365 Copilot add more skills in form of tools such as Outlook, and then your data from these apps available in Graph as knowledge. But on top of it, extensibility adds more knowledge by adding, graph connectors, which enable data ingestion from various sources, facilitating unified data access and insights across Microsoft 365 and other services. So it adds more skills with plugin to add capability of performing actions. So another perspective, and if we categorize this extensibility, then we can categorize into declarative agents or custom agents. So declarative agents are a great choice when you want a layer on top of the full capability of Microsoft 365 Copilot, and you want to add knowledge on a specific set of documents, and you want to target specific roles or areas in your organization like human resources, sales, or finance. So they can be developed both with pro code and low code options. Pro code such as API plugins and Microsoft Graph connectors, Teams toolkit for Visual Studio. Low code or no code options built with the Copilot Studio agent builder, Copilot Studio actions, and Power Platform connectors. And custom engine agents are a great choice for the following cases. Your scenario, such as your scenario requires to use specific LLMs or SLMs. You need greater control over the UX or behavior of the agent. You want to publish your agents to users who are not on Microsoft 365. And custom agents can also be built with pro code or low code, such as you can develop it with Teams toolkit for Visual Studio Code, and you start with either the Teams AI library or Azure OpenAI Studio to configure, then export to generated code to Teams toolkit. For low code or no code, you can develop custom agents rapidly with a user-friendly interface in Copilot Studio. So there's a lot of great possibilities, and you can choose which best suits for your scenario. Having said that, a very important topic which actually comes to my mind is the security, data security. And most of the client ask this question, how secure their data is using Copilot. So luckily we have Aiden available with us today. Aiden, could you please help us understand security and how the data is secure when their users are using Copilot?
Yeah, no, fantastic. No, thanks, Adnan. I think one of the main concepts that I like to discuss with partners and customers around Copilot is, from a high level, it doesn't really create a new security or a new attack vector or new issue, but Copilot and generative AI can really exacerbate existing issues within your environment or exacerbate existing security threats. So we've heard some of the concerns. So speaking to Microsoft and speaking to the wider tech community, there are a range of concerns from there. So a large percentage of organizations, we can see 58% of them, are concerned about the lack of visibility into their business's use of unsanctioned generative AI. So if we think about how quickly ChatGPT came onto the scene, how quickly over 100 million users within the first 2-3 months started putting both personal and business related content into that engine, there wasn't a huge consideration for the amount of data that was being collected by OpenAI, where it was going, what's happening to that afterwards. So we have seen some horror stories as far as internal IP from different companies being leaked through different for different reasons from ChatGPT, mostly inadvertently, but it has had a damaging experience from some really large enterprise businesses. Because then it goes into show that the large percentage of organizations have concerns about implementing AI into the business. They haven't harnessed that conversation or haven't harnessed that opportunity themselves. So employees are finding their own way of doing it. So people on the call may have heard of shadow IT previously, where people are using like Dropbox or different type of SaaS products in the background. We're now experiencing shadow AI, where if the organizations themselves don't control that AI experience, employees are finding it because they're seeing value in the amount of productivity that's able to be generated from that. So there's a huge opportunity for you to reflect on how this is going to be rolled out, but also working with the IT NOCs on how to do that as well. Last one before I'll get at Aaron's questions or perspective on it as well is technology for the past few years has just been showing that it is proceeding faster than the regulations are catching up. So we can't rely on the government to kind of give us the frameworks of how to utilize these bleeding edge technologies. But we do need to work together as a community, work together with experts like IT NOCs to make sure you've got the right tactics in place to make sure that you're getting the benefits of the productivity side of things, but you're also making sure that you get the protection and you have a secure and compliant one for that. What I want to just kind of show through as well, so there are a few examples of some of the concerns on the previous slide, but if you are working within the Microsoft ecosystem, there are quite a few baselines and features that you can utilize in order to make sure that you have the best approach possible at this stage. So first of all, some of the classic ones from a baseline, if you utilize the business premium stack as a minimum, plus Copilot for Microsoft 365, you're able to control the SharePoint environments or the data that Copilot has access to, in addition to a wide range of security features that you're able to utilize to really set the benchmark across your environment and protect not only from the data governance perspective, but also most of the really core security measures that are recommended to protect against sort of 99% of the most common threats. So multi-factor authentication, conditional access to make sure only the right people have access to the right data, adding sensitivity labels for the same reason, and then making sure you've got data loss prevention policies in place to make sure that if people do have access to critical data, they're not able to do things like putting it onto their thumb drive or do any behavior that can put your company at risk from the content that is created at scale through AI. One of the really good pieces of news that we saw in Ignite last week, so Microsoft's big yearly update, is that the SharePoint advanced management features, which really give a more discrete way to manage access to data across environments, is now going to be included across the board. So actually the better stack is now the baseline stack that we're able to deliver through those key licenses, which is really awesome. But you're able to go up into that best-in-class feature set as well, which it takes a lot of those features that we have in the baseline and better feature set, but it can automate those ones for you. So if you are fully embedded into AI and you want to make sure that you can put as much time into the creation and as much time into the working on your business, taking away the manual steps that go into ensuring that compliance and data governance, you can utilize things like Microsoft 365 E5 to automatically apply those policies for you and working with the IT NOCs team to help implement those for you as well. Yeah, so Aaron, I might just stop there for a moment to see if you have any questions or any other perspectives just on that compliance and security piece.
Thanks. Yeah, look, we're a couple of minutes behind. Thanks for the audience for their patience. We've got one more topic to cover before we wrap up. Thanks for sharing some of those considerations that people and organizations could be thinking about or might start with regards to implementing Copilot within their organization. Certainly those who find security a bottleneck or a blocker. So there are ways to help those guys, and thanks for sharing those, Aidan. And what I'm doing a lot with organizations is identify. I get asked a lot, how do we get started? How do we implement AI within our organization, or how do we start leveraging Copilot? So I just wanted to share some thoughts on how. On that, I suppose, essentially, how you can look at getting started and then scaling across the organization, and some examples of some organizations that have done so. So I would suggest first understand how your people and teams work within the organization. Then identify tasks that require heavy administrative work, for example, such as data entry, summarizing, reporting, calculating, finding the right documents, sales, opportunity, entry, and updating. Then prioritize a handful or at least one use case by level of importance or time taken to perform that task, and begin automating that with Copilot. From there, measure the impact. So how much time is saved, and ultimately ultimately cost based on what that resource is worth and the real work that that resource now has the time to perform and put towards strategic activity such as revenue generating activity. And then I would recommend looking at scaling Copilot, so identifying more people and teams and use cases that can be automated to multiply the operational efficiency across the organization. And really to give you a sense of what this can lead to or where this can lead to, for example, Ally Financial activated Copilot in their own contact center, which cuts post-call effort by 30% and automatically captures crucial information talked about on that call automatically. Over 90% of people at Amadeus now regularly use Copilot to take care of most of their admin, allowing them to be utilized far more effectively. 90% of the organization within Amadeus, now effectively use Copilot within their organization. And think about the scale of increased efficiency across the organization. And Bayer started with one use case and grew Copilot to automate over 700, saving essentially hundreds of hours. And Copilot now handles 97% of all customer sessions, including inquiries and support requests at Air India. So it can be very powerful once knowing how to begin and how to apply Copilot throughout the organization. And really, that's it. Thank you so much for bearing with us. We're a little bit behind time, but I'd just like to wrap up with thanking those of the audience that are still with us. For you guys, we are able to offer a free Copilot workshop to investigate how we can make this real for your organization. And we also have access to funding from Microsoft to essentially stand up a pilot or a proof of concept, or really perform some work with and for you around Copilot and making it real and bringing it to life within your organization at no cost to yourself. And from a licensing point of view, there's also a 1 month free when you commit to using Copilot for 12 months, which is fantastic. So I wanted to leave you with those offers. I'll check the chat to see if there's any questions from when I asked earlier. Maybe someone else can have a look because I'm presenting and I can't see any commentary. But I'd love to address any questions or concerns that you might have had coming into this webinar prior, and even open up the floor for some questions and answers as well, if there's anyone that wants to share.
We just had a great question from Kazar earlier that Adnan replied back to in the Q&A section, just around how customizable is Copilot for different business needs. We've got a very comprehensive answer, so thanks very much, Adnan, for that one. But I think, yeah, there's a couple of different elements that were covered off in the presentation. There's the more SaaS-based out-of-the-box feature set through Microsoft 365 itself, but it is able to be heavily customized through connectors or through the Copilot Studio stack or through the agent stack as well. So a bunch of different ways that it can facilitate across a range of industries. But if you do have a very specific need, or you want to make sure that scope of how you want to drive impact is 100% or optimized to what you want to see, then yeah, 100%. There's a bunch of different ways that you can tackle those issues. So yeah, reach out to the IT Knox team to get started.
Awesome, Aidan. Thank you, mate. Any others? If not, and if you do have any questions or concerns or thoughts, firstly, scan the QR code and you can register for one of those offers that I mentioned earlier. There's my details. You can contact me directly using the information provided, and I'd be more than happy to help you investigate and answer any questions moving forward. Thank you so much for your time and attendance today, everyone. I hope that gives you some clarity around what Copilot actually is compared to other bots and AI agents, how to get started within Microsoft 365, then thinking about some extensibility options, where to go beyond that. I gave you some examples of how you might think about getting started, and some use cases. And of course, we went through some security considerations earlier that Aidan talked about to help you understand what those considerations as well. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.